Okay, fine, great. There are 7 domains in SSCP. So we have security concepts and practices, which we do have kind of ISC² code of ethics, security controls, asset management, change management, security awareness, and training. And domain 2, we do have access controls, how the organization do have different types of access controls has been placed. And we do have a domain 3 as a kind of a risk identification, how the risk will be identified in the organization, how we do have a confidentiality, integrity, availability for the information system, what is the risk, okay, and where the organization do the risk identification, risk analysis, and risk evaluation, followed by risk treatment, okay, and where domain 4 is a kind of incident response, how the organization is mature enough to identify the incident, how the incident has been managed, what is the incident response plan, what is the incident response procedure, how the organization is managing the incident management, how good the organization is good enough to maintain the incident response within the organization. And we have cryptography. Domain 5 is cryptography, how the organization is protecting the data, data at transit and data at rest. We have symmetric encryption, we have asymmetric encryption, and we have hybrid encryption. Okay. And for that, we have network security. I think you have said you have completed CCNA. Is that right?
Yeah.
And this domain is very easy for you. It's very beginner level information will be there, where the firewall is there. Okay. What is IDS? What is IPS? And we have a DLP. We have VPN. So this domain is quite easy domain for you. Okay.
Most of them I see it's easy for me.
Yep. Yep. This domain is very easy for you since you have already completed the CCNA. And this is
Okay.
about the software development. So ideally, we can consider out of 7 domains. So you're being clear with one domain, rest other domains will focus. Okay. We'll, we'll focus on the
There are
domains. We'll
still
focus on, yeah.
have knowledge on it.
Okay.
The system.
Yeah, we'll discuss. We'll
So
discuss.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll discuss. Okay. Fine.
Mm.
First, we'll start with the security principle. What is the security principle? Is the domain one. Domain one is security concepts and principle. Security concepts and principle. Let's discuss what we are going to secure. That we need to understand. What is the security principle which we need to understand? Okay. Let's consider within the organization, we have an information system. So the information system in the organization is a combination of people, process, and technology. So you can consider this training itself, where you have registered for the training, where you have a specific SPOC to coordinate. The SPOC is coordinating with the participant. The SPOC is coordinating with the trainer. This is about the people part. Process. The training has been communicated on the dates of training. Okay, what is the timing of the training? In case if there is any exception due to any unavoidable situation, what is that case and how that will be communicated to the participant? It's just a kind of process. And we have a technology. In this training, we are following using a kind of where the teams has been used as a technology. So
Okay.
similar to this, within the organization, any organization, we should understand what is the people process technology. Who are the peoples? Whether the full-time employee, contract employees, who are the visitors, who are the stakeholders, who are the clients, who are the customers. What is the process within the organization? They process the data and they process the business. And what is the technology? Whether they're using any CRM, any firewalls, any DLP, any type of technology. This is about the information system. And within this, What you are going to protect is information security. So protecting the information system is kind of called as information security. So we have an information system, people process technology, the information system. Protecting this is kind of called as information security. So information system, people process technology we discussed. So what is information security? Information security is all about confidentiality, integrity, availability, authenticity, and non-repudiation. We'll discuss one by one what it is. Okay. Confidentiality. Let's consider the core concept of confidentiality is confidentiality ensures only the authorized user can able to access the system. Only the authorized user can able to access the system, or otherwise around no unauthorized access. One is about only the authorized user can able to access the system or no unauthorized access. Okay, so here let's consider you do have a bank account. You are trying to access the bank account, okay, through either web application or through the mobile app. The bank account, web or mobile is a resource or object where you, the subject, trying to access the resource. So we do have implementing the access controls, IAM controls to ensure that, okay, who is accessing? Okay, validating the user, whether he is an authorized user. Okay, whether Amar is an authorized user or not, or Karthik is an authorized user or not. That will be validated by the
Spam
controls.
and X control. Okay.
Okay. Okay. We do have a controls where the access controls you can consider you have been providing the username and password, or you have been providing username and PIN, or you have been providing username and OTP, or you are being providing username and fingerprint logins. So any type of authentication which you are providing to prove who the user is, whether it is Amar or Karthik. Amar and Karthik is the identity. Is that right?
Yeah.
Amar and Karthik is user identity.
Agency user. Yeah.
User user identity. How do we ensure the person is really Amar or Karthik? That will be taken care by the access control. So we have to ensure only the authorized user can able to access the system. That is kind of called as confidentiality. Okay. So we have
Okay.
encryption, access control, IAM. In detail of access control, we'll discuss in domain 2 of SSCP.
Okay.
Okay, fine. This is about confidentiality. We are just discussing the security principles. And okay, another security principle is integrity. Integrity. What is integrity? Let's consider. We have a user Amar trying to send a message, and to the end user Karthik, the message has been delivered. There may be a possibility of man in the middle attack on the message conveyed by the Amar. So Karthik need to ensure whether this is the original message which has been conveyed by Amar. Okay, okay. We have a integrity. Integrity is all about no unauthorized SSCP. It's a kind of a basic certification provided by ISC². Okay, it's kind of beginner level certification provided by ISC². and we do have 7 domains. Okay, I hope you're okay. My screen is visible to you.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, fine, great. There are 7 domains in SSCP. So we have security concepts and practices, which we do have kind of ISC² code of ethics, security controls, asset management, change management, security awareness, and training. And domain 2, we do have access controls, how the organization do have different types of access controls has been placed. And we do have a
Okay.
domain 3 as a kind of a risk identification, how the risk will be identified in the organization, how we do have a confidentiality, integrity, availability for the information system, what is the risk, okay, and where the organization do the risk identification, risk analysis, and risk evaluation, followed by risk treatment, okay, and where domain 4 is a kind of incident response, how the organization is mature enough to identify the incident, how the incident has been managed, what is the incident response plan, what is the incident response procedure, how the organization is managing the incident management, how good the organization is good enough to maintain the incident response within the organization. And we have cryptography. Domain 5 is cryptography, how the organization is protecting the data at transit and data at rest. We have symmetric encryption, we have asymmetric encryption, and we have hybrid encryption. Okay. And for that, we have network security. I think you have said you have completed CCNA. Is that right?
Yeah.
And this domain is very easy for you. It's very beginner level information will be there, where the firewall is there. Okay, what is IDS? What is IPS? And we have a DLP. We have VPN. So this domain is quite easy domain for you. Okay.
Most of them I see it's easy for me.
Yep. Yep. This domain is very easy for you since you have already completed the CCNA. And this is
Okay.
about the software development. So ideally, we can consider out of 7 domains. So you're being clear with one domain, rest other domains will focus. Okay. We'll we'll focus all the
There are
domains. We'll
still
focus on, yeah.
have knowledge on it.
Okay.
The system.
Yeah, we'll discuss. We'll
So
discuss.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll discuss. Okay. Fine.
Okay.
First, we'll start with the security principle. What is the security principle? Is the domain one. Domain one is security concepts and principle. Security concepts and principle. Let's discuss what we are going to secure. That we need to understand. What is the security principle which we need to understand? Okay. Let's consider within the organization, we have an information system. So the information system in the organization is a combination of people, process, and technology. So you can consider this training itself, where you have registered for the training, where you have a specific SPOC to coordinate. The SPOC is coordinating with the participant. The SPOC is coordinating with the trainer. This is about the people part. Process. The training has been communicated on the dates of training. Okay, what is the timing of the training? In case if there is any exception due to any unavoidable situation, what is that case and how that will be communicated to the participant? It's just a kind of process. And we have a technology. In this training, we are following using a kind of where the teams has been used as a technology. So
Okay.
similar to this, within the organization, any organization, we should understand what is the people process technology. Who are the peoples? Whether the full-time employee, contract employees, who are the visitors, who are the stakeholders, who are the clients, who are the customers. What is the process within the organization? They process the data and they process the business. And what is the technology? Whether they're using any CRM, any firewalls, any DLP, Any type of technology. This is about the information system. And within this, what you are going to protect is information security. So protecting the information system is kind of called as information security. So we have an information system, people process technology, the information system. Protecting this is kind of called as information security. So information system, people process technology we discussed. So what is information security? Information security is all about confidentiality, integrity, availability, authenticity, and non-repudiation. We'll discuss one by one what it is. Okay. Confidentiality. Let's consider the core concept of confidentiality is confidentiality ensures only the authorized user can able to access the system. Only the authorized user can able to access the system, or otherwise around no unauthorized access. One is about only the authorized user can able to access the system or no unauthorized access. Okay, so here let's consider you do have a bank account. You are trying to access the bank account, okay, through either web application or through the mobile app. The bank account, web or mobile is a resource or object where you, the subject, trying to access the resource. So we do have implementing the access controls, IAM controls to ensure that, okay, who is accessing? Okay, validating the user, whether he is an authorized user. Okay, whether Amar is an authorized user or not, or Karthik is an authorized user or not. That will be validated by the
Ram
controls.
and X control. Okay.
Okay. Okay. We do have a controls where the access controls you can consider you have been providing the username and password, or you have been providing username and PIN, or you have been providing username and OTP, or you are being providing username and fingerprint logins. So any type of authentication which you are providing to prove who the user is, whether it is Amar or Karthik. Amar and Karthik is the identity. Is that right?
Yeah.
Amar, Amar and Karthik is user identity.
Agency user. Yeah.
User user identity. How do we ensure the person is really Amar or Karthik? That will be taken care by the access control. So we have to ensure only the authorized user can able to access the system. That is kind of called as confidentiality. Okay. So we have
Okay.
encryption, access control, IAM. In detail of access control, we'll discuss in domain 2 of SSCP.
Okay.
Okay, fine. This is about confidentiality. We are just discussing the security principles. And okay, another security principle is integrity. Integrity. What is integrity? Let's consider we have a user Amar trying to send a message, and to the end user Karthik, the message has been delivered. There may be a possibility of man in the middle attack on the message conveyed by the Amar. So Karthik need to ensure whether this is the original message which has been conveyed by Amar. Okay, okay. We have a integrity. Integrity is all about no unauthorized modification of data. No unauthorized modification of data. No unauthorized manipulation of data. No unauthorized tampering of data. No unauthorized modification, no unauthorized manipulation, no unauthorized tampering, or in a simple word, you can say no unauthorized changes on the data. Okay. On other way around, you can say in case if there is any changes in the data, that should be the authorized changes. That should be the authorized changes. Within the organization, organization is using change control to ensure only the authorized changes going to the production. Okay, how this can be achieved? Let's discuss. Now we have a sender. Sender is Amar. Amar is sending a message. Amar give the message to the hash generator, and a hash value has been generated for this message, and this hash value has been added to the message, and this message has been sent to Karthik, and Karthik is the receiver now. There may be a possibility of man in the middle attack. So when the message has been received by Karthik, Amar has also sent the hash value for the message at the sender side. Now Karthik, what he will do in the sense, Karthik will take the message which has been sent by Amar, and at his end, Karthik will generate the hash value. And Karthik already has the hash value sent by Amar. Now both of this hash value will be hash value at the sender, hash value at the receiver will be compared. If both the hash value are same, then only Karthik rely upon the message that he understood this is the original message which has been sent by Amar. This principle is kind of called as integrity. Is that clear,
Yeah,
Amar?
yeah, I know this topic. So
Okay.
it's clear for
Okay.
me.
No issues. Okay, fine. Maybe anyhow,
Should
if
I tell you, later if we go on topic and tell you that I have knowledge?
yeah, we'll discuss. We'll discuss. No issues. So
Okay.
integrity
Oh,
achieved by using hash value, and integrity can be also achieved by the digital signature, where the organization using the controls. The controls are like checksum, hash value, digital signature, and checksum. This is where the controls which will be used to achieve the integrity of the information. Okay, fine. The next one is availability.
okay.
Okay, since we taken the example of bank, the bank need to validate the user. Validation of user identity is kind of called as confidentiality. Okay, that can be achieved by using IAM, access control and encryption. And once whether the system has agreed that this is Amar, this is Karthik, and where the resource and objects need to provide the service to the authorized user as per the SLA. As
Okay.
per the terms and conditions, as per the SLA, the organization, the resource and object should be available to the authorized user. That is kind of called as availability. The bank need to provide the necessary core service to the bank customers. That is the availability. To provide the availability, organization do have load balancer, business continuity, alternate site, okay, and where they do have clusters, edge servers. This is where the things which is there to provide the availability for the information. Is this clear?
Yeah. What about the firewall? Is it for availability or also?
Firewall is not for availability. Firewall in the sense which blocks the unauthorized traffic.
No. Okay.
Unauthorized traffic. Okay, fine. And
Okay.
next, we do a kind of, we discussed about confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And then we have other controls like authenticity. and non-reputation. What is authenticity? We'll discuss. Authenticity is a security principle. Okay. Are you using WhatsApp?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Authenticity is all about source of origin of message. Source of origin of message. Okay. Whether this is the message which has been ideally sent by Amar, or this is the message which has been ideally sent by Karthik, where you do have the security control to identify the source of origin of the message is kind of called as authenticity. Let me explain this on a very high level. And when it comes to domain 5 cryptography, we'll discuss this. Okay. Just we are touch basing the very basic of domain 1 now. Okay. Security principles and concepts. Okay. Let me explain. So within the cryptography, okay, we are just discussing authenticity. Okay. Okay. We have a plain text. The human readable format is plain text. Ciphertext, non-human readable format. Plain text. If you encrypt the plain text using the cryptographic key, you will get the ciphertext. If you decrypt the ciphertext using the key, you will get the plain text. So far, is this clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So based upon what key has been used, okay, based upon which key has been used, we have symmetric encryption and asymmetric encryption. Symmetric encryption is the one which uses same key for both encryption and decryption. Asymmetric, which uses different key. It's not using the same key for encryption and decryption, which uses different key for encryption and decryption. Okay, let's see an example that we are in a WhatsApp group. Okay, Amar, Karthik, and Steve are in a WhatsApp group. Okay, to understand the concept of asymmetric cryptography, we need to understand in the asymmetric cryptography, we discussed different key. So here how it works in the sense, Amar will have a pair of keys. Karthik will have the pair of keys. Steve will have the pair of keys. This pair of key is kind of called as public key, private key. Public key, private key. Public key, private key. And in the closed communication channel, here Amar will have his own public key and private key. In addition to this, Amar will have Karthik's public key and Steve's public key. Similar to that, Karthik will have Amar's public key and Steve's public key. So meaning each participant which will have their own private key, their own public key, and other participants' public and public keys. Is this clear?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Now what will happen in the sense, before going to the next concept, we should understand few things. If a encryption is done by one pair of key, then decryption need to be done by the same pair of key. What this means in the sense, if the message has been encrypted by Amar's private key, now the data need to be decrypted by Amar's public key. If the data has been encrypted by Amar's public key, then that will be decrypted by Amar's private key.
Okay.
The same pair of key will be used for both encryption and decryption. This is the first rule. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay. The second is none of the participant should not share their private key. Should not share their private key. Meaning Amar will not share his private key to anyone. Steve will not share his private key to anyone. Okay. And Karthik should not share his private key to anyone. Public key can be shared, but private key should not be shared to anyone else. Is this clear?
Yeah.
Okay, fine, great. Now, within this, to understand the authenticity, we need to understand few things. So let's consider we have a message. The message has been encrypted by Amar's public key. Now we have Steve. Steve would like to send a message to Amar. Even by mistake, if Steve has forwarded the message to the group where we all are there, where in the group we have Amar, we have Steve and Karthik. But Steve wants this message need to be only seen by Amar. Even by mistake, he forwarded the message to someone else. So what he did in the sense, he encrypted the message using Amar's public key.
Okay.
Now, Steve sent the message to the group or to Amar. Even to the group, if he sent by mistake, only Amar can able to decrypt the message. Why? Because this message need to be decrypted using Amar's private key. Who will have the Amar's private key?
Only Amar.
Only Amar will have it. Okay. This is the one to ensure the confidentiality. Only the authorized user Amar can able to access the message is kind of called as confidentiality. Now Amar have a question that who is the sender? How can I check the sender? So for that principle, what is happening in the sense? Now Amar is sending a message to the group where Amar is also part of it, Steve is also part of it, and Karthik is also part of it. This message has been encrypted. This message has been encrypted by using Amar's private key. And everyone is having Amar's public key. Everyone is having Amar's public key. So if the message has been sent by encrypted by Amar's private key, then to decrypt the message, we require Amar's public
Private
key.
key.
Public key.
Decrypt.
Decrypt. Here
Yeah.
using
Okay.
Amar's private key, it has been encrypted. So since the Amar's public key has been used for decryption, then it should be understood that message has been encrypted by Amar's private key.
Okay.
So the process of identifying the source of origin of message is kind of called as authenticity. Okay, now we can able to identify who is the sender. If the message is signed by Amar's private key, then Amar is the sender. If the message is signed by Steve's private key, then Steve is the sender. If the message is encrypted by Karthik's private key, then Karthik is the sender. So where you identify the source of origin of message. The source of origin of message is kind of called as authenticity. Is this clear?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Great. Next one is non-repudiation. So non-repudiation is the control. Non-repudiation is the control where the user cannot deny what is the action they have done in the past. User cannot deny their action what they have done in the past. If you send a WhatsApp message to a person or the group, if it shows blue tick, what it refers? Blue tick in WhatsApp? What it says that the blue tick in the WhatsApp refers the message has been read by someone. Is that right? The blue tick in WhatsApp, it's about the message has been read by the receiver. Is that right? Okay. So next, and we do have, you have audit logs. Okay, you have logs in place to identify who has done what. The process where you have a security controls in place which able to identify who has done what. Okay, at 12:30 p.m. at September 8, who has logged into our system, that we can able to check by reviewing the logs. This is kind of called as non-repudiation. Non-repudiation is the control. User cannot deny their action what they have done it. User cannot able to deny the action what they have done it. Is this clear?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So we have discussed the principles about confidentiality, integrity, availability, authenticity, and non-repudiation. Okay, this is about confidentiality, integrity, availability, authenticity, and non-repudiation. Okay, fine. Let's get started. So we have the things like, okay, so being a security professional, we need to understand, okay, where you are being doing a business. What is the scope? Scope is like, for example, if you're doing a SOX compliance, okay, if the organization is applicable for GDPR, okay, where the SOX will comes into picture, where if it is PCA DSS, okay, what is the scope? Scope is nothing but a boundary. What is been selected, what is included, and what is not included, what is excluded. That is the scope. For example, in the organization, if there are 500 applications, out of 500 applications, 100 application is SOC scope. 100 application is PCA DSS scope. Okay, 100 application is related to SOC 2. So the process of selecting which is applicable. Okay, and we have something kind of called as data sovereignty and data residence. Any idea what is data sovereignty, data residence? Amar, okay, I don't believe in running the slides. I help you to understand the concepts. Understanding the concept is most important. Okay. Data sovereignty, data residence, and we have a data location and data localization. This is where the four concepts which the security professional should aware of. Let's discuss one by one. Okay.
Okay.
Data sovereignty. Let's consider the company is doing a business in UK. The company is collecting the PA information. The company is collecting the PA information. The company is collecting the PA information. Okay. As per GDPR, since they're doing the business in UK, they need to follow GDPR requirements. Okay. So here what happens is this company do have business in North Korea, or you can consider South Korea, Middle East, Asia Pacific. If they want to transfer the data to South Korea or Middle East or Asia, okay, this is kind of called as cross-border data transfer. Transferring the data from one country to another country for their processing purpose. That is kind of called as cross-border data transfer. As per GDPR, where which says that if you transfer the data to other countries, okay, it need to follow GDPR irrespective of wherever you are processing the data. Is this clear? Whether
Yeah.
you are processing the data from South Korea or processing data from any of the Middle East like Saudi Arabia, Dubai, okay, or Abu Dhabi, or Asia like India, Sri Lanka, wherever it is, it need to follow GDPR requirements. Meaning whose PA data it is, the data subjects. If you are sharing your PA data, or if I'm sharing my PA data, the personal identification information, then we are kind of called as data subject. And as per GDPR, okay, which says that irrespective of wherever you're processing the data, it need to follow data subjects land of law. It need to follow data subjects land of law. That is kind of called as data sovereignty.
Okay.
However, within the organization, if the organization do have a global MNC which has a headquarters in US and have the locations like UK, South Korea, and Middle East, the US cannot force that it need to follow US data privacy when it processing in UK, and it cannot follow, okay, force that it has to follow US data privacy law or the Middle East. If you're processing data in UK, it need to follow GDPR. If you're processing operation in South Korea, it has to follow South Korea's law. If it is processing data in Middle East, it need to follow Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's PDPL data privacy law. So wherever you're processing the information, it need to follow the particular country's land of law. That is kind of called as data residence. In general, we used to call it the land of law. Land of law. And that is in this principle we have calling data residence. No matter what, whose data it might be. If you are processing in my country, okay, if it is UK's data, if you're processing in South Korea, you need to follow South Korea's land of law. If you're processing in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, it need to follow Saudi Arabia's land of law. If it is processed in India, India's land of law need to be followed. This, the respective countries where you are operating, that need to be followed, then that is kind of called as data residence. Data sovereignty says data subjects land of law. Data residence says that it need to follow land of law. Is this clear?
Yeah.
So as per of data sovereignty, if your data has been collected, then no matter what, whether it has been processed in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia or processed in UK or processed in India, it has to follow South Korea's land of law. That is kind of called as data sovereignty. If Amar's data has been collected, then Amar is the data subject. Irrespective wherever you are processing, you have to follow Amar data subject. His nationality law need to be followed. That is data sovereignty. Data residence, no matter what, if you're processing in KSA, it need to follow Saudi Arabia's land of law, UK's land of law, India's land of law. The respective country's land of law is kind of called as data residence. Okay, fine. So if this is the case, this looks like contradict. Okay, one says that follow data sovereignty. One says that need to follow data residence. GDPR clearly says if you're not going to follow my land of law, then you don't transfer the data to other countries like South Korea, to Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, or to Dubai. GDPR provide a strict restriction. It should not process, it should not allow the data transfer to other countries itself. You process data better in my country itself. Okay, why we should have this problem and all? You process the data within the country itself. That is kind of called as data localization. Is this clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so if it is the case, our data should not be transferred to other countries. It need to be processed within within South Korea itself. No data transfer is allowed. That is kind of called as data localization. And where let's consider Amar is having an account in a bank. The core banking function do have functions like normal banking operations, account related things, credit, debit. We have a loan facilities. We have a insurance. We have a stock market. So if Amar has changed his residence from location 1 to location 2, now Amar need to update this information in bank. So if this is the case, bank should knows that what are the functions which is handling Amar's PA data, function 1, function 2, function 3. The function you can consider like kind of bank accounts, credit card, loans. So the organization should have a record of inventory that a specific PA data of user has been processed in whichever function, where credit card, bank account, loans. This is kind of called as data location, identifying a person's PA data has been used in whichever functions and domains or modules. That is kind of called as data location. Is this clear?
Yeah.
In data privacy, they used to call this word as ROPA, record of processing activity. Okay. Okay, fine. And then we have, so this is where the things which you need to understand based upon the things. Okay. And then we have, okay, you need to understand what is the organization culture. You need to follow the respective, when you're doing a business in the respective country, you need to follow the respective organization culture. Okay. And then we'll discuss about within the information security, we discussed about the security principles of confidentiality, integrity, availability, authenticity, and non-repudiation. And how this information security will be achieved. How this will be achieved? This will be achieved by using the tools. Okay, what are the tools are there? That we'll discuss. So within the organization, we have policies, standards, procedures, guideline, baseline, and then we have frameworks. We'll discuss each one of this. What is this? What? Okay, fine. What is security policy? Amar, what is security policy?
It's the law for user what use.
Okay, okay. Let me explain. So security policy is high level requirement from the organization. What the organization wants from the employee, what the board is asking, the board of directors expecting, what the top management is expecting, what the senior management expecting. That will be mentioned as a policy. What is must and mandate. That is kind of called as policy. A policy will have a purpose, a objective. Okay, and this policy will be applicable to whom or whichever applications. Kind of boundary. Scope is boundary, and the policy should be approved by. The policy is a document that is valid when it is been approved. And who can approve? It should be approved by the senior management in the organization. Have you seen the security policies?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fine, great. A policy you can consider access control policy, acceptable usage policy. When you're joining a company, they're asking that non-disclosure agreement, change control policy, okay, business continuity policy, disaster recovery policy. Okay, this is where the policy. I repeat, the policy should have a purpose. And what is the objective? What is the scope? Policy should have a revision history when the policy has been last reviewed. At least annually once, the policy should be reviewed and approved. And the policy should have a approved by. The policy should be approved by the senior management. And in case if there is any major changes in the information system in the people process technology, then policy need to be updated either at least annually once, or if in case any changes in the people process technology, in that time the policy need to be updated. Is that clear? Fine.
Yeah.
Next, we do have standards. Policy is the mandate. Okay. To enforce a policy, organization require the controls, the technical controls. The technical controls will be available in the standards. This will be applicable on the policy, okay, so that which will bring the uniformity. Okay, so that it will bring the uniformity. Let me explain with a layman example. Do you use the debit card and credit cards?
Yeah.
Okay, what is the card provider?
Visa.
Okay, fine. So let me explain. So ideally the card providers are Visa cards, Mastercards, JP Morgan, and Amex. Okay. Okay. Maybe okay with respect to your local banks, they may get the service pro any one of the service providers. Okay, fine. Earlier, what happened in the sense when you buy anything through your credit cards or debit cards, okay, whether Visa card, Mastercard, JP Morgan, or something like that, we have a point of sale where you are going to a shop and you swipe your card. And from this point of sale, it goes to the bank. So this point of sale and bank says that Visa card says that when you're using my card, follow the rule 1. MasterCard says that when you're using my card, follow the rule 2. When you're using JP Morgan, it says that follow the rule 3. It is very difficult for the organization of the purchasing the merchants as well as the bank to follow different rules set by the card providers, and which will bring the ambiguity, which is very difficult to follow. To overcome this, they bring a standard. All the major card providers created a standard. The point of sale, the bank are accepted. They need not to follow different rules. Whether if you're using Visa card, MasterCard or JP Morgan, it need to follow single rule what has been set by the standard. A standard is the one which will have a technical information, and the standard is the one to bring the uniformity. This standard is kind of called as PCI DSS standard. Is this clear? Okay. So have we heard about PCI DSS standard? Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the standard. Okay, maybe layman example. Have you seen that? Okay, for the schools, school students are wearing the uniform, school uniforms while they're going to school.
Yeah.
Why? Because this is the standard. Within the class, everyone is unique. Everyone is same. No discrepancy, no difference. Everyone is same when they are in the school. Okay. So that is the kind of called as standard. Okay. And next we have guideline. Amar, just a minute. Someone is knocking at my door. Okay. Let me go and just check them what it is. Okay. Just so we discussed about data sovereignty,
Okay.
data residence, data location, and data localization. Also, we discussed confidentiality, integrity, availability, authenticity, and non-reputation. And need to ensure when you're doing a business, it need to follow land of law. Data
Yeah.
sovereignty says that data subjects land of law. If they are collecting South Korea's PA information from the data subject, then they have to follow South Korea's land of law. That is kind of called as data sovereignty. Okay. So then pose that we discussed about what are the policies, standards, procedure, which we discussed. Is that right? Yes, Amar. Let's continue. Okay,
Yeah.
just yeah.
I wasn't noted. That's fine.
No issues. Okay, and we have discussed a policy which is should and must, mandate. Standard is the one have a technical information which to bring the uniformity. You can correlate to the layman example. School students wearing the uniform to bring the uniformity. In the school, all the children are same, no matter what. Okay, within the classroom, within the school environment, all are equal. Kind of standards. And we have a procedure. Procedure is a kind of things states that how a task need to be completed. How a task
Need to be completed. Okay.
need to be completed. Kind of step by step. Kind of, for example, you can consider open a Jira ticket. Okay. Enter the task. Enter the flow of task. Workflow.
Yeah.
Workflow 1, workflow 2, workflow 3. And then complete the task. A step-by-step activity to complete the entire task is kind of called as procedure. Okay, and suppose that where the organization do have baselines. The baseline is nothing but the minimum security standard. Minimum security standard. So what are the things are which is must should be have in the organization, that is kind of called as baseline. For example, baseline you can consider, okay, you need to have a access control. You should have a least privilege. You should have a need to know. Data should be encrypted. Data should be encrypted at transit. Data should be encrypted at rest. Data should be protected at use. This is where the few of the things which has been discussed about the things. If this is the baseline means that control should be there. Is that
Okay.
clear? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
For example, okay, in case if you have not sure with anything, do let me know, I'll explain. So
Okay.
access control is we have a subject. Subject is trying to access a resource. So how we are controlling this? Okay, that is a kind of access control. Whether you have your password, your PIN, okay, or your OTP, this is kind of access control. Okay, and least privilege need to know is that least privilege is like, okay, to Karthika, to Amar, where we implement the control, where to Amar provide the developer access, to Karthik provide the admin access. So you implement the control on the subject, what they should have access. This is kind of called as least privilege. Whether you can provide them the read access, write access, execute, update, delete. It's up to the things. However, you're implementing the controls on the subjects. That is kind of called as least privilege. Okay, and we have a need to know. Need to know is where. Have you used Google Drive?
Yeah.
Okay, within the Google Drive, let's consider you have created a folder. If you notice that they says that share the link for the folder,
Yeah.
and
There
it will
is
add,
edit
yeah, yeah,
view.
yeah, or edit. In addition to this, whether anyone with the link can able to open or you explicitly need to approve. Provide their email ID and ensure only they can able to access the resource. That is kind of called as need to know. So you implement the controls on the resource. The Google Drive folder is a resource or object, and you implement the control on the folder.
Okay.
So where if you implement the control on the subject, that is least privilege. You implement the control on the object or resource, that is need to know. Okay, fine.
Okay.
In detail of this, we'll discuss in access control and other domains. Okay, fine.
Okay.
We have what are the things are organization code of ethics. Being a security person, security professional, we should know what are things are applicable to the particular country. What is the land of law, that is most important. In addition to that, okay, where we should understand what is the organization requirement. So whichever organization you are working, you should follow the organization requirement. So if you, for example, if you're preparing and sharing a report where what the information is present in the report, how much true is that? Okay, that is the information. And the information should have its truthness. What is the fact on the system, on the ground, should be mentioned. Okay, this is where the things where the security professional need to ensure the independency. In case if you identified something on the ground, that you have to report as it is. And you should maintain the conflict of interest. For example, let's consider you are a manager for a third party team. and you know that one of your relative is having a software company and they part of the RFP request. RFP is like organizations require some services and where one of your close relatives or close friends are coming for that particular participant. If that is the reason, you have to report the conflict of interest to the management upfront. This is kind of called as conflict of interest. Okay, fine. There should be proper transparency and due diligence should be there. Okay. From a security professional, this due diligence and due care is which is most important. Okay, and fine. Let's discuss. So yesterday again we discussed about confidentiality. Only the authorized user can able to access the system. That is kind of called as confidentiality. So we have the controls like two-factor authentication, single-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication, okay, where you have your access control, your IAM. Integrity, no unauthorized modification of data, no unauthorized manipulation of data, no unauthorized altering or tampering of data. So controls, you have hashing, digital signature, checksum. This is where the controls that has been implemented on the integrity. Availability, where you have business continuity, you have your clusters, you have your load balancer, you have your AWS instances. This is where the something which you need to be use. Okay, fine. And next, this is the information which discuss confidentiality, where they ensure the medical treatment orders need to maintain its state. No data should not be tampered. Availability, data should be available. The patient data should be available for the patient who are in ICU. The banking application should be up to provide the service to the customers. Confidentiality, the data should be protected. Only the authorized user can able to access.
Okay.
Okay, fine. And then we discussed about authenticity, the source of origin of message. The message is sent by whom? So yesterday we discussed about digital signature or not? No, right? We'll discuss.
The signature. We have discussed about
Yeah.
certificate.
Yeah, the person who signed the message is kind of called as digital signature with the private key.
Yeah.
We discussed, right? Whether
Yeah.
if the message has been encrypted with the private key of the sender, then we call that as a kind of digital signature. So who will have Amar's private key? Only Amar will have his Amar's private key. Who will have Karthik's private key? Only Karthik will have it. The process of signing the hash value with the private key of the sender, that is kind of called as digital signature. Okay, fine.
Okay.
So in case if you have a logs in place which user cannot deny that what the action they have done in the past, that is kind of called as non-repudiation. Okay, fine. Then privacy. Okay, what is about privacy? Security is all about confidentiality, integrity, availability. Ensuring the information is properly protected, no unauthorized modification, and data is available. Data service is available to the users. This is kind of called as availability. So having said that, okay, what is privacy? Privacy is all about rights and freedom of individual. Rights and freedom of individuals. Okay, how this can be done, that we'll discuss. Okay, so to achieve the privacy, you need the security. Okay, so in case if your information has been shared to someone, Organization should know that whose information is this. Personal identification information with your email ID, with your mobile number. If they are able to identify the PA information, that is kind of called as privacy information. So for what purpose this data has been shared? Only for that purpose that information should be used. For example, you have enrolled with the Sprintzeal for SSCP training, and they should reach out to you. They have contact to you only for related to SSCP, and in case if they would like to reach out to you for any other training, then probably having said that they have to get the consent. Having said that, with respect to the privacy topic we are saying, so Sprintzeal has been providing other trainings like CISA, CISM, CSSP, but however, ensure get the information consent from the data subject, whose data has been collected, whose PA data has been collected. They are kind of called as data subjects, and you need to get the proper consent from them to use the data, and need to understand where they are doing the business, what is the legal, regulatory, and requirements should be discussed. Is this clear?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. And within the information security, first priority should be given to safety.
Yeah.
Before security, you have to protect your workforce, your employee, your workforce, your human, your people, which is most important. Okay. Most importance given to human life is more precious. We have to ensure whether they are working in IT, manufacturing, sales, marketing, or in the industries, telecom, wherever it is. We need to ensure the human safety is top most important. Then only the cost of the asset will comes. Asset is which has a business value to the organization. Asset is business value to the organization. Okay, for example, what is a laptop? The laptop cost around $1,000.
This is asset.
Asset. Anything which has a business value to the organization is kind of called as asset. We'll discuss in detail in the coming slides. Okay, so you can consider people is an asset, laptop is an asset, server is an asset, hardware is an asset, which has some business value to the organization. Anything which has some business value to the organization is kind of called as asset. Okay, and where the organization do have due care and due diligence. Okay, we'll discuss. I need to understand few things from an organization perspective. Organization do have vision, mission, goals, objective, strategy. Okay, and we have a policy, security program, and projects. The vision is the one, what is the organization aim, goal, and promise for the external customers. That is the vision of the organization. So our organization will provide reliable, safe, and secure products. This is the promise statement to the external people. That is a vision. Okay, and we have a mission to achieve the vision. What is required from the internal employees? That is a mission. And to achieve the mission, organization have number of goals. Goal is the outcome. So why you are attending this SSCP bootcamp? You need to clear the SSCP exam, and you need to understand the concepts of security basics. That is the outcome. Is that right?
Yeah.
That is the goal. Objective is measurable entity. For example, I have to attend, okay, kind of one-to-one training. Need to complete the training in 3 days. I need to learn the concepts. I need to clear the exam in 2 months. So you have set up a timeline, and that whether what you have set up, whether you're able to measure it, are you able to achieve it? That is kind of called as objective. Okay, fine. And then strategy. Strategy is a written document, okay, how the goal and mission is going to achieve. Strategy is like kind of you have received an email from Sprintzeal. This is where the dates of training for each day training, kind of 8 hours of training for each days. And this is the joining link. And this is the people you can able to reach out. This is on the email. Okay, on a document it is there. So that is a strategy. So how you plan to achieve something, that is kind of called as strategy. Is this clear? Strategy is something which you plan and you're planning to achieve. That is a strategy, a written document. Strategy is a written document. Let's consider you wish to build a house.
Okay.
You create a blueprint, right?
Yeah.
That blueprint is kind of called a strategy. And actual execution, building the house as per the blueprint is kind of called as program. Within the organization, where this strategy will be mentioned by through policy. The policy says that access control, change control, okay, password policy, okay, DLP policy, IAM policy, whatever it is. So this policy, to achieve this, you have implemented IAM solution, where you implemented network. Okay, you have segregated the networks, you have placed the things in cloud. Okay, what are the things? Okay, this and all kind of VAPT, vulnerability assessment penetration testing team, the security operations center team, your GRC team. So as per the policy, you have set up a security program so that the execution of strategy is program. What is there in the blueprint? As per the blueprint, you are constructing the house is kind of called as program. Is that clear? Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
this is the one with respect to business strategies, goals, mission, and objectives. Organization develop the organization information security strategy that align with organization business objectives. This information security strategy inputs will be getting from the steering committee. Within the organization, they do have a committee where that committee is kind of called a steering committee. This steering committee will be consist of people from multiple important LOBs, important stakeholders, and they used to provide the inputs what is required for their projects, so that the information security strategy align with organization business objectives. Okay, and where the security is the one of the important thing in the organization, the information security strategy should align with organization business strategy. For example, if the business is banking, it need to follow PCI DSS regulation standard. So you have to develop the information security strategy that align with PCI DSS, which is required for bank. Similarly, just a minute. If they are doing a business in healthcare, it need to follow HIPAA. Privacy, it need to follow GDPR. If it is in Saudi Arabia, PDPL. So we need to understand what is the core business. For the business, what need to be done, what is most important, that is kind of called as business strategy. To achieve the business, you require security. So you have been ensured that information security strategy should align with organization business strategy. Okay. So within the organization do have a corporate governance, IT governance, information security governance. So corporate governance is a bigger circle IT governance is a subset, and within the IT governance, we have information security governance. Governance is the one within the organization, they set up the policy. What is should, must, required for the organization. That is a governance. And where more focus about security governance, focusing about IAM, DLP, change control, business continuity, disaster recovery, which focus about organization business, confidentiality, integrity, availability, authenticity, and non-repudiation. Okay. And where the organization do have due care and due diligence. Any idea what is due care and due diligence? Sorry?
No.
No? Okay, fine. Let me explain. So we have a due care and due diligence. Any person, for example, we have a developer. Developer is developing a code. We have a network admin who monitor the network. We have a tester who tests the code. We have a production admin person who deploy the codes. And whereas due diligence is if any duty which has been assigned to some person, the roles and responsibility has been assigned to any person, okay, that they have to do to the best of the knowledge on the assigned task to them. That is kind of called as due care. Due diligence is you are verifying an activity what others has done. The verification of due care is kind of called as due diligence. You are verifying whether the developer is properly created the code. You are verifying the tester is properly tested the code. You are reviewing the audit logs who has logged in. Is this clear? This is kind of called as due care, due diligence. So keep it simple. Due care means do correct.
Okay.
So we have do correct. And we have due diligence means verification of due care. Due care is due correct and verification of due care is due diligence. Okay, fine. And in case if you're not sure with anything, please stop by. I'm happy to explain. Okay, fine.
Okay.
So organization need to ensure in case if there is any merger with any other company. Let's consider two companies are there. Company A, company B. While doing the merger, the company A should ensure that company B, which they are going to acquire, which will ensure follow the same information security requirements of company A. So if not, they ensure that how they can able to ensure the consistency. That is most important. And then they validate, okay, if not, how they can able to do the gap assessment, identifying what is not been aligned with organization A. If something is not there in A, then they have to ensure identify what is not there in A, how they can able to implement it. This is kind of called as need to ensure any diversification, divestiture or organization mergers. Organization need to ensure the confidentiality, integrity, availability, non-reputation controls should be taken into the consideration. It's not about only the business, how the business runs and how this has been protected in the organization. That is most important. Okay, fine. The next is roles and responsibility. Within the organization do have different things are there. So within this, what are the roles and responsibility? Let's consider one example of this to understand. So which part of South Korea you are? You are from South Korea, right? In case if you're speaking, you are on mute.
No, no, I'm not speaking.
Okay, fine. Let's consider in South Korea, in 3 cities, you are running a school. We have a school 1, we have a school 2, and we have a school 3. And you are the Amar is the one. And we have Amar. Amar is the school owner. He is a school owner. And where Amar himself cannot able to manage all the schools by himself. So he appointed a principal for the school 1. He appointed principal 2 for the school 2. And he appointed the principal 3 for the school 3. And then what Amar did in the sense, principal himself cannot able to teach all the classes. So we have class 1 to 12. For all the classes, we have teachers. For 1 to 12, we have the teachers for all the classes. And each classes, we have the students are studying. In case if one of the teacher has punished a student, and it's a mistake of a teacher, and the student complained about the teacher to his parents. Parent came back to the school and asking to the school teacher, but she is not providing proper response. And then these parents made a police complaint. Now, let me know if there is any court or any legal suit, who is answerable to the court and legal? Whether the class teacher is answerable or the Amar school owner, he is answerable. Amar, are you there?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Have you got the question what I'm asking?
No.
Have you clear with this concept?
The school, you mean? Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Here, one student complained about a teacher and the teacher is not providing proper response and the parent is file a lawsuit. If this is the case, who will be answerable to the court and lawsuits, whether the teacher or the school owner?
The teacher.
It's not teacher, okay. The teacher is responsible and he is not accountable. If that is the case, he quit the school and he may join other schools. Okay. So you being the school owner, you are accountable. Accountable means answerable. You are the one answerable to the legal, regulatory compliance. You are answerable to the stakeholders. You are answerable to the investors. You are answerable to the clients and customers. To the parents, you are accountable. Okay. And here we have a responsible. Responsible means you can you can delegate the response. You can delegate the response. You can delegate the response. However, accountability cannot delegate. You cannot delegate the accountability. Accountability means answering. So within the information security, we have the terms like RASI chart. Responsible, accountable, consultant, and informed. For example, let's assume that the school owner yourself, you cannot able to go and manage each school. So it's your responsibility. However, you appointed the principal. In case even if some mistakes done by the principal, you are accountable. You should answerable to the investors. You should answerable to the customers. You should answerable to the clients. Principal himself cannot go and teach for all the classes. So she appointed the teachers. Then again here the principal is doing delegating the responsibility. You can delegate the responsibility, however accountability cannot be delegated. Accountability cannot be delegated. So far is this clear?
Yeah.
Okay, fine, great. Let's discuss with some other example of consultant and informed. Let's assume you are the bank customer.
Okay.
The bank is collecting the KYC information. Know your customer details from you, the bank. The bank itself not having the software company. The bank itself not having the software company. The bank onboarded a software company to support its operation. Here the bank is data controller. The person who is giving their PA information is data subject. Running the bank operations. This is the data processor. Now, let's assume that the bank application is down. So whom will Amar will contact? Amar is the data subject who shared his PA information with the bank, and the bank is also kind of called as data controller, and the software company is kind of called as data processor. Now let me know who you will contact. If in case any issues in the bank application, will you call the bank customer care or the software company which supports the bank you will contact?
The customer care.
The customer care of bank or the customer care of software company?
The customer care of the bank.
Yes. Why? Because who is answerable to you?
The customer service.
Okay. Yeah. So the bank is the accountable here. Anything happens to the bank customers, the bank is answerable. Then they are accountable. Is this clear?
Yeah.
So running the banking operations by they have onboarded a software company, they are responsible by the contract, okay, by the SOW, by the SLA. The software companies provide the service. They are responsible. So let's assume that they have limited knowledge. They need someone need to help on something for performing a PCA DSS. They are onboarding an external consultant, external independent consultant to work on it. External independent consultant to work on it. That is PCA DSS. So they consulted, they onboarded a SME, subject matter expert, to support on them. So that is kind of called as consultant. And in case if any issues or any downtime, the bank should inform to the data subjects. In case any data breach happen, the bank should report to the legal entity, regulatory entity, to whom they have to inform about something. That is called informed. So this is kind of called as a RASI chart in security. Responsible, accountable, consultant, and informed. Is this clear?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. And within that, where we do have within the organization, we have different roles and responsibilities are there. So we have a CEO, we
The
have
boss.
board of directors.
Yeah.
They are accountable. Anything happens in the organization, they are accountable. They should know, what is the legal regulatory compliance of the organization. They should know what is the critical service for the bank. They should know what is the critical application of the organization. They should know what is the critical data. So they should know all this. Who are the important clients? Who are the important customers?
Mm.
Who are the important stakeholders? Who are the investors? All this information the CEO and board should be aware of. And then within the organization, we have a senior management. The senior management, what has been the board expectation, what the plan which board or the top management has approved, the senior management will take care of the execution of approved plan. The execution of approved plan. So kind of daily operations. The daily operation maintenance will be handled by the senior management team. The group of team will be there. They oversee the day in, day out operations of the organization. That is the senior management. Okay. And we have a chief risk officer who is the one who take care of the entire risk, entire enterprises risk management. So he used to maintain the risk register. Risk register is the one kind of 1, 2, 3 risk numbers. What is the risk? Who is the risk owner? Whether what is the risk status, where the risk is open, close, or in progress. Those informations will be there. Chief Risk Officer will be managing this. And we have a CIO, Chief Information Officer. The CIO is a person who is in charge of IT planning, budgeting, and approval. Is this clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Suppose that where the organization do have commonly can say as data owner. Whenever any data has been created, we should have a data or the asset owner. Anything which has a business value is kind of called as asset. So whenever the data has been created, we should know the data owner. The data owner need to do the data classification, and he need to identify how the data need to be protected. For example, data will be classified as, if we have a data ABC and we have identified Amar as the data owner, you can consider Amar as the project manager. And he is the one need to ensure the classification of data. Classification like restricted, secret, confidential, internal, and public. Have you seen that in your organizations, they used to place what type of data this is? This is the public data. This is
Yeah.
internal data. This is confidential data. That is the data classification. Who is responsible for this? The responsibility of the data classification is data owner. And the data owner is the one who decides what is the security control that is required. Whether you require two-factor authentication, you require encryption, you require multi-factor authentication, that is decided by the project manager or the data owner. And as per the requirements mentioned by the data owner, we have a data custodian. Data custodian is a person who will implement the controls as requested by the data owner. Let's consider Amar as a data owner, and Amar has identified what data it is, and he classify the data, and he identify what is the security control that is required. And if Karthik is a data custodian, the data owner Amar will say that this is what the things which is required for my data. You implement the controls. The implementation of security controls will be done by data custodian. You can typically consider the data custodian as a person, for example, the DB admin, database admin, IAM admin, or access management admin. Any person who is on the ground implementing the controls, They are kind of called as data custodian. They are just responsible, but to protect the data information, the accountability resides with data owner. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Great. So we have discussed about a lot of users who's been there. Okay. And then we discussed due care and due diligence. Due care is all about do correct. Due diligence is all about verification of due diligence. And then we have different types of controls. So we discussed about policy, which is should and must, should have a approval, should have a revision history. At least annually once the policy should be reviewed and approved. In case if not, if there is any major people process technology changes, then the policy should be reviewed and approved. Standard is the one which brings the behavioral changes. The standard is the one which brings the behavioral changes. Guideline is the one nice to have, good to have. What is guideline which discuss? Let's consider the rule says that the driver should wear the seat belt. That is the policy. Okay, where everyone who is traveling in the car can wear the seat belt. So which can have nice to have, good to have. Nice to have and good to have. Procedure we discussed. Is this clear?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Great. Suppose that, okay, we discussed about what are things are there. Then we'll discuss about the controls. Okay. Control is the one. We have a security control. To achieve the confidentiality, integrity, availability, authenticity, and non-repudiation, we do have a security controls. The security controls are implemented to have confidentiality, integrity, availability, authenticity, and non-repudiation. Okay, so you have a controls. We discussed a lot of controls. So controls are divided into many types. So we have physical control, technical control, administrative control. What is this? We'll discuss in detail. So physical control is the one where you have a security guard. You have a security wall. You have the security fence where any control where you can touch and feel. Okay, you have your doors. Okay, your cabin. This is kind of called as physical controls. Your security guard, security wall, security fence where we can touch and feel. Okay, where your doors, locks, everything is a physical control. And then we have technical control. Set up the firewall rules. Encrypt the data. Password control. Change management. Okay, hash the information. Okay, data has been encrypted at rest, at transit, where you have used the technology to protect the information system. The information system is people process technology. Then this is kind of called as technical control. Okay. And then we have administrative controls. We have administrative control where the organization decide what is required from the employee. If you are employee of my organization, you have to follow this. That is kind of called as administrative control. So we have the administrative controls like, okay, your policy, organization procedure documents, the organization internal standard documents. This is kind of called as administrative controls. So probably you may have NDA, non-disclosure agreement, acceptable usage policy, access control policy, anything. What is required in the organization? If you are an employee of the organization, you should follow this. This is kind of called as administrative control. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then where this controls has been implemented, where we have identified the controls based upon where, when this control has been implemented. So we have a preventive control, deductive control, and corrective control. The preventive control is like you have a password. Before something happens, you protect your information system. You implement some controls before something happens. That is kind of called as preventive control. So you implement the access control, you implement the IAM, you implement the two-factor authentication, you implement the multi-factor authentication. If you're not sure what is two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication, IAM, we'll discuss in domain 2 in detail. So we have access control is the second domain. We'll discuss in detail in the domain 2. Okay, fine. Where this is where the controls ensures that only the authorized user can be able to access the system, which prevents unauthorized user cannot able to access. This is kind of called as preventive control. The control which protect the information system before something happens. And then we have deductive control. So the deductive control is the one. The deductive control is the one which detects if something happens. You have